I was wondering, as long as we're talking about this, because you've mentioned it, I know, in Blogging Heads, where at some point you felt like you were being used by some members of this community. So what did it feel like to be a young Black economist being sort of fostered as someone criticizing Black America by a bunch of white people who are like sort of at the vanguard of this intellectual culture, going back at this point 2 decades, 50s, 60s?
Well, I mean, we're going back a ways now. For me, this is the mid 80s to the mid 90s when I'm in this kind of coterie of intellectuals, and I'm becoming a public person myself in a certain way. And it's a different time than it is today in the year 2020, when even hearing you utter that sentence, a Black intellectual in this world of white people, makes me squirm because I don't want to be that guy. But in 1985, I was that guy, and I didn't give it a second thought. And to a certain degree, there was a certain amount of carping going on from people, but it wasn't nearly as pointed. There was no social media. There was no cancel culture. It wasn't nearly as pointed and vicious as I think the environment today would be for a person similarly situated. And moreover, the issue of being used really doesn't arise for me in the 1980s. I don't really begin to become conscious of that dimension of the problem. Well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that everybody has someplace to go at the end of the day when the music stops, except me. I mean, some people are going to Dublin. Some people are going to Jerusalem. Some people are going to Rome. Everybody's got a people. Everybody can be Irish. They can be Irish. They can be Italian. They can be Jewish. But my Black fealty, my fealty to Black people as such, was kind of disqualifying for me in that circle. I mean, I had to kind of surrender that on the altar. You know, I had to give up being Black at a certain level. You know, this came to a head after some period of time. I mean, it took 15 years to come to a head. It came to a head in the late 1990s when I started breaking with people, when, you know, especially my relationship with Abigail and Stephen Thernstrom, because I wrote a very critical review of their book, America in Black and White, that was published in the Atlantic Monthly in 1997. And I didn't speak to them again after that. And we've been very, very good friends. As I say, Abby introduced me to Martin Peretz and was indirectly responsible for me starting a career at the New Republic, where I ended up contributing editor and a monthly columnist at the New Republic for some years. But in any case, I wasn't self-consciously the oddball out. I wasn't anybody's pet, that's for sure. I mean, I did feel that people were grateful for me and were respectful, not always uncritically so. And sometimes the criticism came from the left, but from neoconservatives, sometimes the criticism came from them. I mean, and along the lines of what you said, have you not underestimated the importance of structural factors in this account that you're giving? Don't you need to enrich this account? And aren't you perhaps getting a little preachy here? Aren't you perhaps getting a little bit up on a high horse here? You might want to have a bit of self-awareness about that, temper it down, a little bit of irony. How did it feel? Tremendously empowering, unbelievably exhilarating. I felt like I had a trump card in this, and this is all within my own mind, status game with my Black compatriots from a different strata of African-American society who were much more liberal and much more having a feeling of entitlement and presumption to their posture speaking on behalf of Black people and whatnot. And me being an outsider and a contrarian, and also feeling myself to be coming up from below and a kind of an insurgent whatnot. But I felt like I had this trump card, which was that I was actually getting affirmed by some of the smartest people that I could find, who were finding it interesting. I mean, Aaron Wildowski called me a national treasure in a comment that he made at one point in the late 1980s. The people that I was friendly with at Harvard, I got to know E.O. Wilson, the great the sociobiology, the great scientist. I got to know Robert Nozick, the late, great Robert Nozick, the libertarian philosopher. James Q. Wilson became a friend. We actually edited a volume together as a part of a collaborative project in the 1980s. And the carping from my African-American compatriots about how I was getting too friendly with the conservatives kind of just went over my head. I didn't really care that much about it. I didn't think that much about it.